we all set? Chris, are we all set? Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call our July 5th Town Council meeting to order. Could I have a pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Dan Agarella.
Here.
Cricket.
Here.
Ms. Conley.
Here.
Mr. Moffett.
Here.
Dr. Parker.
Here.
Ms. Tillerson.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Stephanie and Joe are both with us by phone and both out ill with the virus. So thank them for being here. Take care of yourselves. Approval of minutes, tab 1 is from the special call town council meeting on May 25th.
So move to approve. Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. And the second is minutes from the June 7th meeting. Could I have a motion to approve, please?
So
Motion
moved.
to approve. Mary Ann, go ahead. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor's comments. A number of months ago, I don't have all the dates, but what started off as concerns relative to clear cutting on the site we know as the Cape, violation dealing with 50 trees, etc., was brought to our attention. Everybody recalls we asked the ARB to come and present what had taken place. They did. They made a presentation here. There was a long discussion. Thought it best that we ask the community to really formulate their questions in written form and send them to us, which was done. ARB and the town prepared responses to those questions, et cetera, and we sent them out at the beginning of June. Since what started off as questions regarding, concerns regarding clear cutting and the trees, et cetera, has elevated to a point of some very, very serious accusations. Accusations in terms of the partners, Kiowa partners, South Street partners, ability to misuse the role that they have, the ownership, the control they have of the ARB, to manipulate calculations, to change. Anyway, there was a lot of accusations relative to what they were able to do. We had an opinion from Joe Wilson, and he and his firm gave us a legal opinion relative to that. From that, the accusations continued. We have asked for a second opinion, and we have it now. So we have two independent legal opinions stating that East West Partners has not violated any standards related to the development of the Cape. So I'm going to read over some things to you that I thought were important to respond again to these accusations. We will prepare it in written form and get it out over the next couple of days, but that's basically what I wanted to do right now. We have legal opinions that have supported the town's position, which is what we stated back in June, that the ARB acted appropriately. So we have two legal opinions. The issue primarily now is about how lot coverage is measured. So that is really the core issue here. The calculations themselves are not in question, but rather the definition of highland in the ARB standards. The ARB has exclusive jurisdiction to interpret those standards and the definition of highland as used in those standards. The ARB has interpreted highland to mean all area above mean high water. Under this interpretation, the development was in the 33% standard adopted by ARB. The interpretation of highland is a reasonable one. The South Carolina Attorney General has adopted it, and it is used frequently in other contexts, including the town's own ordinance. The other definition of highland has been claimed by some as the land above the OCRM baseline. Nothing in the ARB standards or the town ordinance adopts the OCRM baseline. They do adopt the OCRM critical line, but that is the marshfront property, and is simply not the same thing as the OCRM baseline, which applies to beachfront property. And finally, I would point out that the town's own density standards for multi-unit development allow 60% of coverage based on the entire lot. There is no reference to highland in the town's density standard. So even under the town standards, this development would be approved because it is under the 60% of the entire lot. Fourth point, the ARB has exclusive jurisdiction over lot coverage standards set forth in the ARB guidelines, and it is the town's position that the ARB interpreted the language used in calculation the lot coverage consistently with previous beachfront projects and in a manner that is reasonable and commonly used. And lastly, this week the town will be adding a development resources page to its website where we will provide the full text to development agreements in addition to frequently asked questions that will be updated regularly. We encourage residents to view the page to find accurate and whole information. I am not remotely naive enough to think that this will stop the accusations. Not in any way, shape, or form. But as we have said now in a number of different times, we will be transparent. We are going to say things as they are. We will provide the community with the information as we see it, as we understand it, and as we know it. I really don't know what else we can do except to say those words, put them in print, and send them out to everybody. I do not and cannot stop the accusations. There are now additional attorneys working for additional groups within the community. We don't know the terms of their engagement. I presume they're probably working on this or very similar things. And we will just have to, we will all hear about whatever conclusions that they reach. But I thought it's important as mayor, representing this council, representing the staff, in terms of what we do, what we have done, what we have investigated, what we have asked people to spend time and energy to research, is to share all of that. So, that's my update. Citizen comments.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Maura McIlvain, 146 Blue Heron Pond Road. The item on the agenda I wanted to address was B under number 7, which is the Lou Hammonds Group contract or proposal. And it dovetails nicely, Mr. Mayor, with what you just said. There is a level of suspicion, whether it's warranted, whether it's not warranted. In reality, it exists. And the level of suspicion is that there's a relationship or deference or some type of connection that the town shows to the developer. Not just the developer, but the developer in this case is what's my focus for my comments. I think having a communications consultant is a great idea, because I stood here before and said that some of the communications coming from the town to the residents were poor. Some might say mangled, some might say defensive, whatever you want to say. I think having a consultant's a great idea. I will note the following. I didn't see an RFP for this. Now, it may be that it's 3 months and it's only $10,000 a month, and so it may fall under some level that needs an RFP. I also noticed that it's possible to be extended for another 9 months, which would bring it up to almost a $100,000 contract. So I don't know why it was not put out, but I saw nothing that it was put out, number one. Number two, and this ties into what I was just talking about, one of the responsibilities of this new consultant is at the bottom, second to the last of the listing, liaise between the town of Kiowa and Kiowa partners as appropriate. Now, I don't know what that means, and I don't know why it's Kiowa partners. It looks like, again, there's going to be some link between the communications of the town and the partners. There's going to be some coordination between the town and the partners and what's said to the residents. And I don't think the town wants that. I don't think the town should want that. Given the current environment that, Mr. Mayor, you just addressed, I think that liaisoning in any way where they could accuse the town of coordinating with the partners is not where the town wants to be right now. So I would encourage you to take that out of the scope of work. The second thing I would note, and the last thing, is I don't know if this company group has done any work for the town before. I don't know if they've done any work for the partners before. I do know they've done work for East West. They currently do work for East West, and that's another issue that would, I think, help the idea of not liaisoning with the partners on any communications coming from the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are good points. Stephanie, can you respond to the RFP? The only thing I could respond to that is that we had worked with Helen Hill from the Convention Bureau to find out who she felt to be the best group
Yes.
for this. So
Would you like me to come?
yeah, please, Steph.
Yeah, I think he started off. And so what we did was I had reached out to Ms. Helen Hill with CDB. We work very closely with them. They are knowledgeable in terms of PR firms in the community. They gave 2 PR firms. I looked at the reference, or I reviewed the 2 websites, and then I had reached out to the one that I thought would be able to handle the needs that we need. And so they gave us a proposal. There are things within our procurement that will allow us to bypass the formal process. And so what I did was I did go and I did look at 2, and I made a recommendation of this group. I felt that they would, again, as quickly as possible, be able to hit the ground running. They're well respected in the community. They probably have a lot of clients. They've been around for a while, so I'm not surprised that they have probably worked with a number of different people. But they do come highly recommended from our partners from CDB, as well as other people within the Kiowa community that are very familiar with this group. They come highly recommended.
Okay,
Any other questions?
that's good. Thank you, Steph. Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Brad McElvain, 146 Blue Heron Pond Road. Mr. Mayor, when you were outlining, and I assume this is part, I can do this in citizens' comments because it's part of your mayor's update, but when you were outlining the opinions, it appeared that you were stating what's in those opinions. I would suggest, and you can talk with your counsel about this, that by stating what's in the opinions, you have waived any attorney-client privilege with respect to that. And I would ask that you then disclose the opinions in the interests of transparency. So that is the point that I would raise on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Brad Belt, 151 Bobcat.
This portion of the meeting is supposed to be citizens' comments for agenda items only. And on behalf of Preserve Kiowa, I was going to briefly touch upon the 2 items on the calendar for the executive session. If the mayor and council will indulge me, if I could respond briefly to the mayor's comments, since that's not an actual agenda item.
Always.
Thank you, sir. First and foremost, I think the entire community does welcome the commitment to greater transparency. Heretofore, and I'm disappointed by the use of term accusations. A number of members of the community have spent a lot of time and effort trying to understand the governing documents that apply to all of us and systematically work through those in a fact-based way, simply outlining what we think are issues that warrant attention. As Mr. McIlvaine indicated, this is the first time that there's actually been any indication of a substantive response to any of the issues or concerns that have been raised by the community. We welcome that. And if there is information, if we're wrong in our analysis, if we're wrong in our facts, and I'd be the first one to raise my hand and stand up and be corrected. Just for the record, I would note with regard to one very specific item, only substantive matter I'll raise, is with regard to the town's definitions. And I'm quoting from the town's, right here in front of me, the town's definition of critical area means any of the following. Number 4, beach dune systems, which is the area from the mean high water mark to the setback line. Then it goes on to say, critical line means the jurisdictional boundary of the critical area as determined by the OCRM staff. Then in 12.374, it says highlands means the area above the OCRM critical line, which has just been defined in the town's own ordinances as including the area from the mean high water mark to the OCRM setback line. That's pretty straightforward, pretty clear definition within the town's own ordinances, which is contradictory to the position, the interpretation the ARB has taken. But I will leave that matter alone, and we look forward to seeing the more detailed recitation of council's opinion with regard to these matters. The 2 issues I want to touch upon are the 2 executive session items, and flying a little bit blind here because they are going to be an executive session. The first item references discussion with regard to proposed contractual arrangements with Riverstone property. I'm speculating here. I don't think any of us know what that is, but to the extent that it pertains to Andell West, I would simply note on behalf of Preserve Kiowa, which is a newly established nonprofit entity here on the island that now has several hundred members, and as you noted, we have retained counsel, and that'll come up in the second matter. It has been our view, expressed view, that simply moving forward with a community commercial designation would be inappropriate. We'd be opposed to that. We're not in a position to make any judgment regarding a planned development or any other zoning characterization with regard to the property. We would simply urge that the town not take any action with regard to entering into any contractual arrangement with Riverstone if it pertains to Andell West, unless and until the community has had a full opportunity to engage on the issues related to development of that parcel, including getting full details regarding what intends to be done there, and also getting a much more detailed traffic analysis and environmental impact study, particularly given the fact that there's proposed to be there a fairly large fuel center that we assume would have underground storage tanks. So that's just simply to urge the town not to take any action with regard to any contracts pertaining to Andell West, if in fact that's what the executive session covers. The second item is an executive session to receive legal advice with regard to the preliminary proposed or requested preliminary plat extension with regard to Sam Spit on behalf of Kiowa Development Partners, or actually Kiowa Resorts Associates. You should have received this afternoon a letter from counsel for Preserve Kiowa, which outlines the arguments that we believe make it clear that there was no valid basis for any extension of the preliminary plat subdivision. Our council could not be here today, but is prepared to meet with the town's council or outside counsel to discuss these issues in much greater detail. We have much more extensive analysis, but it's our view, very briefly, that number one, the town's own ordinances set forth an extension period under the preliminary subdivision provisions, which provide for initial 3-year period and a 6-month extension. Full stop. That time has long lapsed. In 2018, there was an effort to shift that to 12-194, the vested rights ordinance, which we believe is wholly inapplicable since it pertains to a site-specific development plan. And this is pertaining to a preliminary subdivision plat. Moreover, the 12-194 says that the vested rights are only triggered upon a final site-specific development plan. This is clearly a preliminary subdivision plan. We can go on about the time lapse issues, that the time has expired even if you apply 194, and you add on top of that the impossibility of development as a result of the Supreme Court's recent decision, the most recent order of which was September 1, 2021 last year, and on top of that, the issue of the impossibility of development because of where the new DHEC OCRM lines are, which cover the entirety of the neck. So we understand the council itself is not taking any action at this point in time, and that's on the part of the Planning Commission tomorrow, but our understanding it's going to remain in the Planning Commission agenda, and our assumption is at this juncture that there's still a view on the part of the town that they have to approve the extension. We very respectfully and strongly disagree, and council's opinion addresses that, and we'd be happy to discuss that in further at tomorrow's Planning Commission meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. We have 2 items under consent approval to consider approval of the proposal for the debris monitoring services and the contract with Lou Hammond's group, which we just heard at Ways and Means. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion or comments relative to those 2?
I believe we covered all this in Ways and Means.
All in favor?
Aye.
New business. Stephanie DeRuda, who's, I should know this, but who's speaking to this budget, or is this just pro forma? We just approve? Oh, okay. No one is. So we have before us the approval of the Charleston Area Convention and Visitors Bureau proposed 2022-2023 budget.
We just did it.
It's under tab 5. Any comments? Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion or comments relative to this? This is something that we do each and every.
I see we came in $9,000 under budget.
Good for them. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and now, could I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved. Second.
Okay, let's go into executive session. I don't think we'll be that long. I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes?
And make it 2 weeks.
Mayor, did you get a motion to go into executive session?
Already did.
We did, it was approved.
Great.
Can you text me when they go? Can you text me when they go? Yeah. Thank you. Supposed to be zooming in.
Hey, Stephanie. Okay.
let the record show that the two oldest council members did not have to go to the bathroom, but the two younger council members did. So I,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Priggett and I, or
Totally.
maybe our youth is, what else do we have to do?
Town
That's it.
administrator's report, I don't know whether Stephanie had
Yeah.
anything she was reporting.
Petra, is Stephanie calling back in? She shouldn't,
No, she shouldn't.
yeah,
How about the, we need to.
no, I don't think so, I think we're. Okay. Could I have a motion to come out of executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
We're in regular session. No action was taken, no decisions were made during executive session. Administrator's report will pass on. Council member, committee updates. John?
So the only thing I've got is the Kestrel Court project is underway. As Brian said, we saved a tree. The work on the slab is kind of the next big step along that process. And we did have to go out and put some caution tape around the site because people were continuing to dump crap on the
I
site,
noticed that over the
even
weekend.
without
they always do that.
any boxes there.
Yeah.
You know, I think the sign sort of indicated, here's what's permitted to be left and here's what's not, even though there were no containers.
So-
I think people just looked at that and said,
So
oh.
we do have some mailing labels and some license plates, and we'll be contacting those individuals.
That's
shortly.
always been a problem there.
So, but the project is underway. That's all I have.
Wonderful, thank you. Mary Ann?
Yes, I'd like to thank Craig Harris for conducting a wonderful Public Safety Month. And I know he did that in partnership with Craig and some of the other people. And I thought it was very successful, and I feel that next year we'll do it again. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And, you know, thank you, Craig, for all of you that contributed to yesterday. It worked out well. All the people on the beach, on the parkway, I mean, it was all without incident.
Right.
You know, we're blessed on that. Good. Dan, anything?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Scott?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just would like to take this opportunity to announce that my wife and I have been here since 2003, and we've made the decision that it's time for us to move on with our lives and enter into a new journey. Our house is currently under contract, and we'll be moving to Asheville in the middle of next month. As such, I have tendered my resignation effective July 31st to the mayor and to Stephanie. I would like to say that it has been an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to serve the town in my various capacities on the Public Safety Committee, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the last 2 years on Town Council. I'm sorry to leave until, with some time left on my term. I feel like I'm letting all of y'all down, but at the same time, my wife and I need to do what's best for us. And so I am going to miss this opportunity.
Thank you, Scott. Godspeed. Thank you.
And God bless us.
General comments, none. Citizens' comments. Hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.